Yamunatiravanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunya Bihare Gopijana Balaba Girivaradhare Gopijana Balaba Girivaradhare Yasodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachare Yamunatiravanachare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Swami Vishnupat Paramahansa Brahmacharya Sarada Srimad Divine Grace Sesi Bhakti Vedanta Sangha Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Faunacharya Sri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Kodi Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sri Thakur Ki Jai Prem Saga Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasi Gura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kuni Viran Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navitam Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tudasi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktandi Ki Jai Gauda Pramanandi. All glories to the 7 devotees, all glories to the 7 devotees. All glories to the 7 devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Was war das? Rauskriegen in Deutsch.
Was ist denn lieber? Deutsch oder Englisch?
Das ist, richtet nicht an euch.
Okay. Wer spricht kein Englisch?
Besser Frage, wer spricht kein Deutsch?
Who does not speak, who does not speak German? More people speak English in German. So,
Is there a translator?
mehr sprechen kein Deutsch als kein Englisch.
Oh, ja?
Also besser wäre für uns Englisch.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we continue with the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavata Purana, Canto 3, the status quo, Chapter 28. That means these are instructions of Kapila Muni. Evam Harao Bhagavati Pratilabdha Bhavo Bhaktya Dravat Riraya Utpulaka Pramodat Autkantya Baspa Kalaya Muhur Ardyamanas Taj Chapi Chittaparisham Shanakair Viyungte Evang Harau Bhagavati Patalabdha Bhavo Bhaktya Dravad Hridaya Upalakha Pramodat Audkantya Vashpa Kalaya Muhur Ardyamanas Tajchapi Chitta Parisham Shanakai Yungte Evam Harau Bhagavati Parilabdha Bhavo Bhaktya Dravad Diyaya Upayakha Pramodhat Audkantya Pushpa Kalaya Muhur Ardyamanas Tajchapi Chitta Badisham Sanakair Viyungte Evam Harau Bhagavati Padilabdha Bhavo Kantyavasva Kalaya Muhurardyamanas Tajchapi Chitta Badisham Shanakai Viyungte Evam Harau Bhagavati Patilabdha Bhavo Bhaktya Dhavat Dridhaya Upalaka Pramodhat Audkantya Bashpa Kalaya Muhur Ardyamanas Tajchapi Chitta Varisham Sanakai Viyungte Evam Harau Bhagavati Patilabdha Bhavo Daya Upalakha Bhavat Audkantya Bashpa Kalaya Muhur Ardyamanas Tajchapi Vidhasham Sakalai Viyungte. Ladies. Evan Harau Bhagavati Patilabdha Bhavo Bhaktya Dravat Hridaya Upalaka Pramodhat Audkantya Vashpa Kalaya Muhurardyamanas Tajchapi Chitta Badisham Sanakai Viyungte Evam thus Harau two words Lord Hari Bhagavati the personality of Godhead Pratilabdha developed Bhava pure love Bhaktya by devotional service Dravat melting Hridaya his heart Utpulaka experiencing standing of the hairs of the body. Pramodat, from excessive joy. Autgandhya, occasioned by intense love. Bashpakalaya, by a stream of tears. Muhu, constantly. Adyamana, being afflicted. Tat, that. Cha, and. Api, even. Chitta, the mind. Badisham, hook. Shanakai, gradually. Viyungte, withdraws. Translation of the verse. By following this course, the yogi gradually develops pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. In the course of his progress in devotional service, the hairs on his body stand erect through excessive joy, and he is constantly bathed in the stream of tears occasioned by intense love. Gradually, even the mind which he used as a means to attract the Lord, as one attracts a fish to a hook, withdraws from material activity. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here it is clearly mentioned that meditation, which is an action of the mind, is not the perfect stage of samadhi or absorption. In the beginning, the mind is employed in attracting the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in the higher stages, there is no question of using the mind. A devotee becomes accustomed to serving the Supreme Lord by purification of his senses. In other words, the yoga principles of meditation are required as long as one is not situated in pure devotional service. The mind is used to purify the senses, but when the senses are purified by meditation, there is no need to sit in a particular place and try to meditate upon the form of the Lord. One becomes so habituated that he automatically engages in the personal service of the Lord. When the mind forcibly is engaged upon the form of the Lord, this is called nirbija yoga, or lifeless yoga. For the yogi does not automatically engage in the personal service of the Lord. But when he is constantly thinking of the Lord, that is called sabija yoga, or living yoga. One has to be promoted to the platform of living yoga. One should engage in the service of the Lord 24 hours a day, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. The stage of premanjana tudita can be attained by developing complete love. When one's love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotional service is fully developed, one always sees the Lord, even without artificially meditating on his form. His vision is divine because he has no other engagement. At this stage of spiritual realization, it is not necessary to engage the mind artificially, since the meditation recommended in the lower stages is a means to come to the platform of devotional service. Those already engaged in the transcendent loving service of the Lord are above such meditation. This stage of perfection is called Krishna consciousness. I'll repeat the verse. Evam harau bhagavati patilabdha bhavo bhaktyatra vidhaya utpataha pramodhat audhantya bashpa kalaya muhur ardayamanas tatchapi chitta vadisham sanakai viyungte. By following this course, the yogi gradually develops pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. In the cause of his progress and devotional service, the hairs on his body stand erect through excessive joy, and he is constantly bathed in the stream of tears occasioned by intense love. Gradually, even the mind, which he used as a means to attract the Lord, as one attracts a fish to a hook, withdraws from material activities. Om Magirati Vedandasya Gananjana Chaksumaritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Madhavustam Savidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Vidata Swavadantikam. So here we hear the description of Kapila Muni, who started his description, starting with analyzing the material elements first, then coming to the spiritual energy, then speaking about liberation, karma yoga, jnana yoga, then Sankhya yoga. We hear about the gradual process of yoga also here. And actually it's very austere. Yoga is actually very austere. It's not so much as we learn it from our modern yoga teachers. It's actually much more austere. So like Krishna is describing the system of yoga very detailed in the Bhagavad Gita. And he says that the first point is that one has to go to a holy place, and not accompanied by others, but alone, completely alone. Then he says the person who's practicing this has to be completely free from sex desire, completely celibate, and free of anxieties. Like we explained the other day, when you go into the forest or the jungle, alone, there's so many anxieties normally that people have. So these are the first steps only. Then it's supposed to be a special seat that the yogi has to erect, and so on. And controlling the mind, as it says here, which is also very, very difficult. And the senses, and then taken off, all these different designations, temporary or material designations, until coming to the, how you say, the cairn? How is it, cairn? To the core, which is the spirit soul. Which is the spirit soul. And then also realizing the Lord. All self-realization, first we have to understand who we are, then we understand the Supreme Soul, which is actually situated within our heart also as a Paramatma. And then the more confidential part of self-realization is the relationship between the individual soul and the Supreme Soul. Like we hear here from these verses, the yogi discovers the Paramatma within his heart, and he becomes attracted. It even says in previous verses that the face of the Lord, he starts meditating on the face of the Lord, on his eyebrows and his eyes, and all the different parts, and especially he becomes very enamored, verliebt, enamored, and the smile of the Lord, his merciful, his compassion that he emanates, and gradually, like Prabhupada says, he comes from the platform of meditation, from the mechanical process, he comes to the platform of devotional service. Devotional service, devotion, love. And love, like we mentioned the other day, love is actually activity. When you fall in love with somebody, you want to do something for that person. You want to serve that person. You find out what he likes or she likes, he doesn't like, and all that, and you adjust your life to that person. And then Prabhupada mentions in the purport here that actually beyond all this speculation and gymnastics and all that, comes devotional service, activity, practical activity, engaging all our mind, all our senses, our mind, intelligence in the service of Krishna, and finally come into a spontaneous, raga bhakti, where actually, the Shastras say that all these rules and regulations that you had to practice in the beginning, you don't have to practice them anymore, because your attraction for Krishna, for God, is so strong. Everything is based on love. Actually, what I mentioned the other day also, Prabhupada explains that even though the Paramahansa or the very advanced devotee, he doesn't have to follow, he's not obliged anymore to follow all the nitty-gritty regulations, all the details, but still he does. Why he does? Because he's supposed to teach, give an example. Just like Prabhupada also. Prabhupada gave us the example for so many things. He would chant, he would be very strict about so many things. Even though he actually didn't have to be so strict anymore. But he did it because he was our founder Acharya. Founder Acharya means the person who teaches by his own life, by his example. And this is very, very important in spiritual life. Actually, Prabhupada expected the same thing from us. That we also give an example. That we also teach by our own example. Whatever a great man does, common man will follow. Like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So this is very important. That the principle of Acharya. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Pravitim cha nivitim cha janana vidudasuna socham napi sachara satyam teshu vidyate. Says that Krishna says the demons, they have no idea what to do and what not to do. It's not clear to them. They're confused. Pravitim cha janana vidudasuna. They Pravitim chanivim janavira satyam, and there's no truth in them. Socham, there's no purity. And achara, they don't know how to behave properly. There's a great difference between those who are qualified leaders and not qualified leaders. So Srila Prabhupada wanted us to become exemplary. No matter in which ashram we are based or situated, Prabhupada always wanted us to give an example. In other words, to preach. Just like we mentioned many times, when sannyasis come or brahmacharis come, they normally don't stay very much. We have the saying, Jai Maharaj, Bhai Maharaj. We don't know what the person did before, nor do we know what he does after. But our householders, staying in one place. And they're normally observed and copied, how you say? Taken as an example. So the preaching of the householder is actually very, very important. There's a very nice example that mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas, he was traveling for 6 years without stop. He would travel all over India, visiting different places and also preaching inspiring people to chant the holy names. In this way he came to one place, I don't remember the name now. We went there also many years back. We went there. It's a very beautiful place. They have a very nice temple with a big white cupola, dome. Very nice dome, very nice deity. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to that place, he was invited. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had taken sannyas, he was sannyasi, he was traveling as a sannyasi, so he wouldn't accept invitations to houses to take prasad. And Prabhupada actually explains that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu only accepted the invitations of brahmanas. Why was that? Because normally brahmanas were worshipping a Vishnu Tattva form, or Shilas, and they would only consume prasad, which was offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very strict with respect to that. So at one point he accepted the invitation of a brahmana, and he went to his home. And the brahmana received Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying, "Oh, these feet who are worshipped by great personalities like Shiva and Brahma," he had actually a lot of realization, "are now purifying my home." So he offered him an elevated seat. He washed his feet. He sprinkled the water of the water on the head of his family. Then he offered him a place to take rest after eating, which is actually recommended in the Ayurveda. So after taking rest, Chaitanya was very relaxed, and he approached Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he said, "Oh my Lord, as householders we're very entangled with so many things. And devotional service often becomes something of the background. Wie Hintergrundmusik. Wie sagt man das in English? Background music? No? Background, yeah. And please allow me to travel with you, to leave everything and travel with you." And surprisingly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "No, you stay at home. Yadite katarikaha Krishna upari shamara guru hanyatara iresh." He gave him an instruction. He said, "You stay at home, and everybody you meet, you preach Krishna Upadesh. You repeat the instruction that Krishna has given in Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavatam, and other shastras. In this way, your household life will not be an obstruction in your spiritual life." And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, "If you do that, very soon we will again meet." And then he added something very interesting. He said, "Actually, we'll never be separated." So this is related to Vani and Vapu, following the instruction of the spiritual master, which is actually what Prabhupada said is more intimate. Molding one's life around the instruction of the spiritual master is more intimate than it can. Than being with the spiritual master in person. When the spiritual master comes, the disciple is supposed to serve the spiritual master, regarding his bedding, his clothes, his eating, and all this. But when the spiritual master is not there anymore, and normally even Prabhupada, in the beginning he stayed a little longer in New York, but then he started traveling, and we would rarely see Prabhupada. I remember here in Europe we used to see him only once a year. He used to come to London. Then he also started, in the beginning he only went to London, then he went to Sweden and Holland, Paris, different places. Yeah. But he was only very short times at those places. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, "If you actually do that, we'll never be separated. Just like Prabhupada also told us. Actually, when he said when he went to New York, he actually never felt alone. He always felt accompanied by his spiritual master. Not in his personal form, it's a Vani form, it's his instruction. Anyway, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed this Brahmana. What was the name of it? Kurma, yeah. Kurma, yeah. Yeah, and the place is also Kurma Kshetra, yeah, Kurma Kshetra, in southern India. Anyway, so Kurma accepted the instruction, but when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, he still followed him for some time. And then he surrendered and he went home. And there's an interesting addition. When Chaitanya was at Kurma Kshetra, there lived another Brahmana, Vasudeva, the leper. Leper? And lepra is actually a very contagious disease, very contagious. That's why those who were infected with lepra, they had to live separate, in separation from the rest of the population. Actually, it says that lepra is a very, very horrible disease. It creates all holes in the skin. And you're full of these holes and pus and all that. And also in the case of Vasudeva, it says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that there were even worms in his wounds. And it says whenever a worm fell down, he grabbed it and put it back. Hare Krishna. So anyway, so this Vasudeva, when he heard about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in his town, he immediately started moving. Under great difficulties, he moved towards the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had been. And finally he arrived, and he was informed that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had already left. And it says in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that when he got this notice, he felt unconscious of separation, felt so much pain of separation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He fell to the ground, unconscious. And because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he immediately understood what had happened, and he reappeared before the Vasudeva. And he got him up, he grabbed him, got him up, and he embraced him very tightly. And when Vasudeva was embraced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he felt very ashamed, because he thought, now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will be contaminated by all the pus and blood that I have on my skin. But all of a sudden he noticed that actually this disease had gone. It says that to another place. I don't know what that means. So, and because of it, it became extremely beautiful. And because of that, instead of being completely ecstatic by having solved his health problem and for having received such a beautiful body, he became ashamed. And he said, "Oh my Lord, now that I have such a beautiful body, I will become proud." And we know that pride is a very obnoxious quality, completely contrary to devotee's attitude. Anyway, so he felt ashamed. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just said, well, in order to get rid of the pride, just chant the holy names. And he gave him the same instruction he gave, what is the town name? Yeah, Kurma, the Brahmana Kurma. No, he didn't tell him, now you leave everything and go out. No, he said, he gave him, Yaridaki Tarika Krishna Uparesha Madagunu Kali Taraivesh. Whoever you meet, you preach, or you repeat, Mehor said, Krishna Upadesh, the instruction that Krishna is giving. And that's what I meant in the beginning when I spoke about that household life. Actually, our householders should be very conscious of this fact, that they should also continue preaching, especially by their example. Here it's a little difficult and different, because you all kind of live like isolated. Normally people don't observe you because they're far. Maybe the neighbor gets to know you somehow. But normally, householder. Well, actually, Prabhupada said that householders should live on the farm. Only preachers should live in the cities, and the householders should live in communities, peaceful communities, and earn their necessities. Necessities, and lead a peaceful life. But actually, we have seen sometimes when householders live somewhere separate, from the temples, somewhere where there's not much known about Krishna consciousness, how important they become. And people start, especially when the preachers, and they should be preachers, and they start inviting people, doing programs at home, like that. It's actually very fertile ground for making devotees, new devotees, attract people, giving an example to the public. Anyway, so this is what Prabhupada wanted us to do. Prabhupada used to say that we shouldn't be satisfied with what we have achieved, but we should actually distribute Krishna consciousness. We take part actively in the mission of preaching, increasing the preaching, increasing the number of devotees. We shouldn't be satisfied with that being saved ourselves. Like Prabhupada said, we should also try to save others. And Bhakti Thakur actually said something very interesting. He said, the quality of a Vaishnava is seen in how many others that Vaishnava has made devotees. Like we see in the case of Srila Prabhupada and other great souls. And also we see, when household is actually preaching somewhere, it's a very powerful preaching. Because they're also giving an example of their life, what it means to be Krishna conscious, even in family life. It's very auspicious. We have many nice examples. Of course, very advanced souls like Bhakti Thakur. He had many, many children. He had a very important service, and public service, government service. But still, he was preaching. He was re-establishing the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement even. Yes. And it says, actually, this was very difficult for him in the beginning, because he couldn't even find an authorized, bona fide copy of the Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's very difficult, wasn't it? For 8 years he was searching for authorized copy of, but he didn't find. And because at that time, actually, the Vaishnavas, they were not being in the open. They had retired to the forests and holy places, and they were avoiding people who were not devotees. They were not interested in increasing the number of Vaishnavas. So it was very difficult for him to find bona fide Vaishnavas at that time. And also he started praying to Krishna. He couldn't see that his followers were actually qualified to continue the movement, expand it further. So he prayed to Krishna to please send him a ray of Vishnu, a sun, to help him to expand the movement further. Anyway, so our the responsibility is to follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, to expand the movement as much as possible, make everyone known, make Krishna consciousness known to everybody, So this is, no, and Prabhupada wanted our centers to be the centers of inspiration, no, where devotees would come, charge their batteries, no, to go on preaching. When I don't want to expand it unnecessarily. Sorry, I didn't speak anything about Govardhan Puja, but I prefer to leave it in the hands of Ananda Krishna, who's prepared very nicely for that, no, isn't it? Any question or comments? Hare Krishna. Akila. Sri Akila.
Maharaj, I was wondering about the status of Govardhan. On the one hand, Govardhan is said to be the greatest servant of Krishna. On the other hand, he is considered an incarnation. Govardhan, he was a personality, a servant of Krishna, and then Krishna manifested as Govardhan and enjoyed all these offerings. So what is Govardhan? Who is he? Is he a servant or is he Krishna himself?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. I don't want to speculate.
Both.
Somebody else can? Willst du was dazu sagen?
Actually, I heard a lecture from Madhavananda Prabhu. He speaks a bit about that point, that actually it's no problem as with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is at the same, is the Supreme Lord, at the same time he's a servant. So sometimes there are appearances of the Lord who have both features, and both is authorized in that sense. And
So he was asking about Govardhan.
yes, but yeah, with Govardhan is the same point. Govardhan is, from one point of view, he is Krishna, took on the form in the Leela, but at the same time in the Shastra it said he is the best of servants because he serves Krishna in his Leela and all that. And sometimes devotees, they argue actually on that point, if how Govardhan should be worshipped, but it's just the point of view. It's both is allowed, as with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is a servant and he's the Lord himself. That's what I heard.
Is that clear to everybody? What he said? Nobody comments, nothing. Okay.
I had also a question
Yeah.
concerning preaching.
Sorry that I didn't answer your question.
Yeah, as we know that preaching and giving Krishna to others is very important.
Yes.
So how can Grihastas preach, and especially Grihastas on a farm preach, who are quite isolated, as you said, but at the same time they should to some degree or have some idea how can I do that actually, how can I take part in the mission?
Well, you are the best example. You have how many people who are attending your programs on internet? How many members you have on your club?
Yeah, like 7,000.
7,000. Hare Krishna. Anybody here who's come here because of that? Yeah, Hare Krishna. Welcome. So you can see people are coming, they're attracted. And you on the farm, using the modern technology to preach. Actually, this technology is only usable in Krishna's service. You know, it's like a double sword. How do you say?
Double-edged sword.
Huh?
A double-edged sword.
Yeah, double-edged sword. No. In the internet, you can, become completely bewildered, do all kinds of sinful activities. But a devotee, a trained devotee, being Krishna conscious, he knows how to use the technology in the service of Krishna. Just like, for example, I have bad eyes. So when I can't probably read anymore the very small letters in the books. That's why I read this. And I also got Bhagavatam, the newest edition of the Bhagavatam. I bought it when I went to Mayapur last time because the letters are bigger. You know? You got them too, no? Yeah. No. Anyway, so with technology, like you're using glasses, no? Technology. Using technology in the service of Krishna's glories. That's what why Krishna made it, to help us in spiritual life. You know, like all these conferences and classes that are transmitted on the internet. You know, it's a perfect medium to preach, to expand Krishna consciousness. Microphones. I have my voice is going down due to influence of time. So I need this, and I also need a microphone to hear properly. When I'm sitting in the classes normally, I have already, due to my age, my hearing is not so, how you say, well, I don't know, certain words I don't know. I know them only in Spanish because mostly I'm speaking Spanish. Anyway, so we have light here, artificial light. Even though I notice, like in South India, many of the temples they don't use electric light on the altars for the deities. No, you've been in South India? No, yeah. And no, they only see the deities and light emanating from fire. And I notice you do the same thing in the morning here from Mangalarti. It's very nice, very traditional. But Prabhupada also used airplanes. Prabhupada used dictaphones. And I'm sure if Prabhupada would still be here, he would also be more active on internet. Yeah. I heard a story once that Gagamuni was in the very beginning, in New York. Gagamuni was going through the street and he saw a shop window, and there was a machine. He couldn't figure out what it was. He saw a microphone and all that. He went in, and he asked, "What is this machine for?" And then the man said, "It's a dictaphone." And then Gagamuni asked, "Is that useful for a person who writes books, dictating them?" And the man, of course, said, yeah, give it cheap to you. And then he came and brought it to Srila Prabhupada, became Prabhupada very inspired with a dictaphone. And Gagamuni said that he was surprised how fast Prabhupada learned the art of using it. Yes. And then Prabhupada used it all the time. You can still see a dictaphone in Mayapur, in Prabhupada's room. Anyway, so Yukta Vairagya, we're using everything in the service of Krishna. That is what it's meant for. This is, this energy, the material energy should be used, should be transformed, should be purified. Like Prabhupada said, just like when you put some iron in the fire, it becomes hotter and hotter and hotter, until it becomes red hot. And when you take that iron, you put it on something, immediately it starts a fire. And Prabhupada said, this is the term spiritualized. When we use things in Krishna's service, they become spiritualized. And they actually become worshipable. Like you have a vitrine here, how you say this box here, where you keep things of Srila Prabhupada. His wooden shoes from Vrindavan. Actually, these shoes were brought by Jai Govinda from Vrindavan. Prabhupada had used them in Vrindavan. Jai Govinda came and brought many more things. He brought also a Madanga that Prabhupada had used. And it was a pretty big Madanga, I remember. And there's a sweater in there. Actually, that sweater was given to me. Harikesh has been a personal servant of Srila Prabhupada. And he gave me 2 sweaters during the time, because he had been a servant for Prabhupada for a long time. No, so he gave me this sweater also. But then when Srila Prabhupada left, it was said that everything that we had gotten from Srila Prabhupada, we should give back. And it should be kept and be kind of worshipped. No? There's temples where they have many more things of Srila Prabhupada. I still remember the things that Prabhupada had in his room when he was in Schloss Rettershof. No? And in the beginning we still had these things, but then they got lost. There was a special desk, there was a special lamp on the desk that Prabhupada had, that we had gotten. No? Yeah. And Prabhupada also brought his Bhagavatam, his first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam at that time. No? We have a copy here, no? The very first book of Srila Prabhupada. No? It's interesting when you look at that book. No, it was made in India. It was not. Technology was not that advanced there yet. No, and sometimes even you see there's a letter. Yeah, of course, upside down. No? Yeah. Anyway, so these things become worshipable because they have been in personal use of Srila Prabhupada. Yeah. No, for when you go to Vrindavan, there's Prabhupada's house, and where Prabhupada used to stay. And they have when you go in, on the left side, they have a vitrine, how is that? I say glass and shelves, and where they're keeping the things that Prabhupada used, his personal hygienic things. His tongue scraper, his some sticks even still. What Prabhupada used to, he used to clean his teeth with sticks. Yeah, and a plate, very important plate, onyx, an onyx plate. You know what onyx? Yeah, onyx is like marble and exists in different colors, light blue, pink, yellow, like that. Yeah. I still remember that plate. I was once in Vrindavan, and I had gone with some devotee there. We had to do something. We had to do something with Srila Prabhupada. No? And then when we left, we entered into Prabhupada's room. Actually, we went with two sannyasis also in there. We were both brahmachari. Anyway, and so Prabhupada started talking to us. And then in the end, when we were paying our obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and getting up and for leaving, Prabhupada he was taking breakfast, and he had the onyx plate on his desk. And one onyx plate was what is that? This white sweet with drifting. No, drifting, like with liquid. Huh? Kheer? Sweet rice? Kheer. No, kheer. Bolit, I say, balls. Rasagula. Thank you very much. Yeah. So he had a plate with rasagulas, and he was giving, each one of us was giving a rasagula. It was dripping. And from that time, I still remember that plate. Yeah. And it's still there. And it's worshipped. Yeah. And all the articles that Prabhupada used to use there, or wherever he actually went, became worshipable by the devotees. Yeah. So this is spiritualized material energy. Just like the verse of Rupa Goswami. No? He said, I don't remember the exact words, from the Upadishamrita, about false and real renunciation. What was that? These verses? Krishna Nibandha, Krishna Sambandha, Yuktam Vairagi Muchate. No, that one should, if one renounces something without understanding the relationship that this thing has with Krishna, as his energy actually, and it is incomplete renunciation. Just like, I think I mentioned it the other day, just that there was a cover of a magazine No? Yeah, I mentioned it before. Sorry to mention it again. That there was a yogi sitting, no? Like very, very concentrated. And a typical yogi, with long hair and beard and this. And there was a hand coming, coming close to the yogi with a lot of bills, dollar bills, $100 bills. And the yogi would not be affected by that money. And so they showed it to Srila Prabhupada, that picture. And Prabhupada saw the picture and said, if I would have been there, I would immediately grab the money and use it in the service of Krishna. Okay, any more comments or questions? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the nice lecture. You talked about teaching by example is important for preaching. What other aspects would you say are important to cultivate and inspire new devotees?
Well, you are expert in this. I remember when you were in Köln, you would go out in Sankirtan and Dodi and sometimes bring people back from the street, and preach to them, give them prasad. And I don't remember, but maybe some became a devotee because of that also. No? Remember that? You're not sure? Yeah. Anyway, this was very nice preaching. You would distribute books and would invite people to come with you to the temple also. And they were very nice persons, I remember them. Actually, what was your question? Sorry.
What aspects are important to attract and cultivate new devotees?
Our whole program is like for that. Not only to help us to become Krishna conscious, but also to attract new people. That's why we should have a presentation that is a good presentation. We should act properly. We should be kind to new people. We should give them attention. I heard one said in Abenteuer, what is the name now? Golokadam. There was a lady who had been given a book on the street, and she was very interested. I remember she also had an important post, how you say, in society. And she made she traveled to Golokadam, and then actually she wrote a letter after that, and she said she came there, she didn't see anybody. She went in, nobody was there, and so she left. And wrote that letter complaining, that there was nobody attending me, nobody to speak to, ask questions and all that. And this has not only happened there. I don't want to mention the other temples that became, created quite some scandal because of that. For example, the one temple in America that I went to once. I was visiting our Sankirtan devotees from Argentina there, and we went to the temple, and there was nobody. There were only like 2 or 3 people living in the temple, and they didn't give any attention to. They sometimes people came and they used to tell them, no, not now, come Sunday or something like that. Yeah. And when our Sankirtan devotee was staying in New York, it actually was New York, they started bringing people to the temple. And the temple devotee was surprised. Wow. They started making programs at night also, Bhagavad Gita class and all that. Yeah. Anyway, so this is the meaning. The temples are supposed to be, Prabhupada said, like embassies of the spiritual world, and we should act as such. We should use the facilities for that. You also inviting people, no? Are you? Are people coming? Yeah, it's not so easy in Germany. Hare Krishna. Any more questions or commentaries? Yeah, bitte. Yes.
Thank you very much. I have a question regarding the personal contact with people, especially Sankirtan and book distribution. Because can you maybe say something about the importance of this still? Not that we think that modern technology will replace this. That
What
we
was
think
that? I didn't understand.
so we might think that preaching on internet and using modern technology is replacing the direct contact with the people on the street, especially book distribution.
That's what you think.
Sometimes it might. No, not what I think. I don't think so. I make the experience that still book distribution is very special, and Srila Prabhupada's words were focused on this. But there could be also the tendency that we think, well, that was many years ago. Now are different times. But can you say something about the importance still that we know? Sankirtan is so important, personal contact with people is important, and the books in paper is important. No matter if we have internet.
And Prabhupada said, books are the basis. Books are the basis. Purity is the force. That means you know, when people meet devotees dedicated to serve Srila Prabhupada's mission with their life and soul, how you say? Yeah. This is impressive. Yeah. The personal contact is very important. I just heard Prabhupada say, theoretical knowledge not sufficient. That we have to learn how to apply. I see, apply the knowledge. This is the next step. And when we apply this knowledge, then naturally also we become purified, naturally become, charismatic, because of Krishna consciousness. And this context is very important. Living contact in person. What do you think, your experience?
Yes, for sure.
Huh?
I experience more and more that's really important. It's very, very important, this personal exchange.
Yes. And that's why, actually, on the street you meet so many people, you speak to so many people. You should maintain, as much as possible, you should maintain contact. How you say? No? Maintain contact. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because the times are so focused on internet and online, especially through the corona crisis again. So it's also to our advantage because the personal contact is most important. So this will become even more important because it becomes so rare also. So people will value that more. And so our personal contact is there, but our special spiritual personal contact is there. So it makes us even more valuable. We can actually even, praise that more. To tell people, oh, it's not only about an internet online meeting. Come here, get to know devotees, do something together. The sadhu sangha becomes more important.
Yeah, do it. Do it. How did you come to Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, I also, of course, to devotees, so book distribution.
You became devotee here or in
No,
America?
in Vienna.
In Vienna. Oh.
I met devotees on the street.
Yeah. How did you become a devotee?
I got also a book.
A book? Jai. And what did you do after that?
It took some time, then I read it, and then I visited the temple.
You told me. You went to the restaurant, right?
Yes.
And you didn't want to be talked to. You were just sitting there and watching the scene. But anyway, you become entrapped by the prasad. How did you get to Krishna consciousness?
I get also a book for Christmas. And
On the street, or somebody gave it to you?
yes, it was a friend of my sister.
Oh.
And he was get it from a girlfriend or somebody. And then it came to me, and after
Yeah,
then I
like
was
we
at the
always say,
temple.
every book has its destiny. How you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody might take the book, but might not keep it and give it to someone. And that person maybe will become affected by it. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't let you finish.
Yes, and I was reading the book after, and then I was visiting a temple. I was starting at home to practicing, and then I visited the temple in Hungary.
Yeah, to see the result. How did you come to Krishna consciousness?
A co-worker had recommended the Srimad Bhagavatam to me, so
Wow, what a co-worker.
yeah.
Wow.
And I purchased the first canto, and then I also watched Ananda's YouTube channel a lot, and yeah, I came here for my first
Yeah,
vacation after reading.
How did you come in contact?
Yeah, for me it's from the family friends,
Oh.
and also my parents when we were small. They used to take us, and we were not getting the value out of it, but we were
Where did
just
you,
going.
where did they take you?
I'm from India, from a south part of India called Mysore, a city called Mysore.
Oh, Mysore.
Yeah.
There your parents took you to the temple.
Yeah, they used to take regularly to temples, and of course the Krishna temple. And yeah, that time we didn't know the value of it when we were small kids. But as we grow, like we realize the kind of importance of it and the benefits of it. So yeah, it's kind of become a habit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's more influence of parents.
You're very fortunate. I heard about one Indian, a young boy, he came to Germany to study in München. And so very intelligent. I think he had made several titles, I say, no? Yeah. And so one day he was on the street in München, and he saw the Ratha Yatra. And he couldn't believe it. What's this, What, they're imitating India or something? No? Okay. And so he approached them, he started laughing at them, joking at them, But then he got kind of, he followed them to the temple, and it slowly became more and more serious. No? Then he was actually he was advancing. He was, developing taste and chanting and association and all that, reading Prabhupada's books. And actually he came from Mathura. No, Mathura. When he was a young boy, his parents used to take him on parikrama in Vrindavan. And he didn't like it. He never wanted to go, and he wanted to go to the West to forget all this. No? Yeah? Yeah? So then he came and he became a devotee in München. Yeah? And then he went back to Mathura. And he took his parents on parikrama in Vrindavan, explaining everything. And they couldn't believe it. He had become a better Hindu than us being in Mlechalandia, Nandia, don't say anything here, no? It's more Spanish. Huh? Mlechastan. Yeah. And that's also, I noticed also in Köln, there's a lot of young Indians, students, and they come to the Sundays they come to the program. No? And sometimes, I notice that, sometimes the parents come to visit them. And they take them to the temple. And the parents say, thank you so much for protecting our children of the degrading influence of the Western so-called culture. Yeah. And actually it says in the Shastra that you should, when one takes birth in India, it's a very pious birth. Very pious birth. And so it says that one should make one's own life perfect, and then distribute these teachings all over the world. Yeah. When Srila Prabhupada went to the West, it was actually in the minds of some of his god brothers that the sannyasis shouldn't go to the West, to some so degraded places like the West. Everyone takes beer, eat meat, and all this stuff. No? So, but then Prabhupada went, and at first they were very, very skeptical, especially when he started initiating Westerners who had been eating meat before and taking beer and all whiskey, no? And then Prabhupada also started giving second initiation, Brahman initiation. No? And not only that, and he started giving sannyas to Westerners. No? And they were criticizing him so much. No? But actually, no, Prabhupada used to say, we judge everything by the result. You know, these young boys and girls who following the 4 principles and chanting the names, they are not only Brahmins, they are better than Brahmanas, they are Vaishnava Brahmins. And Prabhupada always defended us. He always defended his Western disciples. No? Because Prabhupada accepted us as Vaishnavas, Vaishnavas, Vaishnavas. Yeah. And you see by the result. No? Prabhupada was able to expand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement all over the planet. Yeah. And Prabhupada used to say the Indians are our most important allies. Yes. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay, finished. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your patience.